Have you ever thought about what goes into photobook sequencing or photozine sequencing? Now, I've been working on my own photobook project for the last several months, and I've learned a lot along the way. And I'm making this video today because I wanted to share with you some of the lessons that I've learned. I want to pay it forward, so to speak. So by the end of this video, you will learn 5 important tips or lessons or approaches to sequencing your own photobook or your photozine. Now, this list is by no means exhaustive, but at least it's an introduction into the process of photobook sequencing or photobook arranging. First of all, what is sequencing and why is it important? Sequencing is the art of arranging photographs in a particular order. Photo sequencing is essential in photobooks and photozines, which lend themselves to long-form content. When you're dealing with many photographs for a book or a zine, arranging them in an interesting way is a creative act. And when we deal with a number of images, we can't just expect one image to hold our interest. Now we have to contend with 20, 40, 80 or more images to capture, to grab, and to sustain, and to hold our attention over the long haul. In my opinion, some thought needs to go into photobook sequencing. A haphazard arrangement runs the risk of your readers losing interest. A good sequence can create a narrative, it can build tension, it can present us with interesting juxtapositions and contrasts. A good sequence goes a long way. Now, this video will assume that you've already selected your images, that you've already selected your shortlist, which is another problem altogether. Anyway, I wanted to start with the most important approach, and that is to think about your why. The why rules the roost. This is the big picture question, and this is your North Star. I want you to ask yourself, what is the point of this book or zine? What is it trying to communicate? What do I want this book or zine to achieve? What message or story do you want it to tell? What do you want your readers to get from your book or your zine? How do you want your readers to feel? Think about it. Write it down. Articulate it. If you have a clear sense of the why, it will be your North Star, kind of guiding you and illuminating the path before you. Having a clear sense of purpose helps you make decisions on how to sequence your images. But thinking about the why is conceptual, and I wanted to bring us back to the ground and give you some practical approaches. One such approach involves narratives. This is storytelling. Can you arrange your images in such a way that a narrative or a story gets told? It can be a simple chronological narrative like a photo essay or a photo story. You know, this happens, then that happens. This is a fine way to arrange your images in the sense of documentation and, creating a narrative. But narrative doesn't need to be straightforward or chronological, right? There are many ways to tell a story. Are there a group of images that convey the sense of a climax in the narrative? Are there images that build up to that point? Are there images that create conflict, tension, resolution? Another approach involves form. Narrative and storytelling, as I just alluded to, often involve content, the plot, the action, the subject. Here you let what is being represented in your images, like the content and the subject, here you let that guide the narrative along. But in an approach that involves form, you let how something is represented guide the sequence. In other words, how can the formal characteristics of your photos help you arrange them or group them together? Are there important colors or patterns that can help you group and string your images together? Are there striking formal similarities or contrasts that pair or string together nicely? Are there any similar or contrasting shapes or lines? What about tonality, light, perspective, and composition? Sequencing a photobook or a zine with formal qualities in mind can be a really interesting approach. Another tip that will help you arrange or sequence your photos involves making work prints. So once you've developed or once you've identified your short list of images, I recommend that you print them all out. They need not be big. They can be the size of an index card or bigger, like a standard 4x6 photo. The point is to have cheap physical prints that you can tape to your wall or arrange them out on the floor. This helps you move the photos around into groups according to form or subject and easily rearrange their order. This also helps you get away from the computer, right, and see the relationships between the images as a continuous whole. In The Hill of the Skull, the book that I'm finishing now, I've used a putty, like this putty material, to affix the work prints to my wall. I looked at them every day, I studied them, I rearranged them. It was immensely helpful for me. Some people put the work prints on the walls, some people put them on the floor, some people put them on tables. But if you can't print them out, you can use software like Figma to use a virtual whiteboard-like area to put your images and sequence them out. Once you have a working draft of your sequence, it's important to consult the living. And what I mean by that is, ask other people for advice. You can ask friends, people who aren't experts, and ask them their opinion about the set of images. Sometimes this yields valuable information. Are they confused? Do they immediately get it? Maybe they're not your target audience, but sometimes this perspective is helpful. You can also ask photographers and experts, people who look closely at images on a regular basis. Ask for constructive feedback and don't take it personally. It's sometimes difficult to hear feedback about our work, but it's an important process in growth. The second point here is to consult the dead. And what I mean by that is to look back on some of the photo books and photo zines produced by others. Now, they don't need to be dead, they don't need to have passed, but the idea here is to look back on work that's already been done in order to get, to get perspective, to get ideas, to get inspired on how to sequence your own photo books. The point here is to study other photography books and zines. Study them for not what is being represented, but how everything is represented. Study them for how the images string along, how the images are grouped together. In most cases, a lot of time and thought goes into the sequencing of images, and more often than not, photographs aren't just randomly thrown together. Use other people's work as sources of inspiration. Consult them as if they're professors teaching you how to do the work. They are your archetypes. Draw inspiration from them. Lastly, and this is a bonus tip here, don't rush the process. Sequencing and arranging is not a quick process. Take your time. Sometimes it takes a while to see connections. Sometimes it takes a while to see patterns and relationships. Sometimes it takes a while for everything to come into focus. Give yourself some time and space to think about your images thoughtfully, and good things will happen. Trust me. Anyway, I hope you found these tips and these approaches helpful. And if you have any additional tips or approaches, please drop them in the comments below. If you found this video to be helpful in your own project, please get in touch, send me an email. I want to check out your work and who knows, perhaps even feature it on this channel. So thanks for watching, and until next time.